healthy community is
Yeah.
your ally in life.
True.
If you go it alone, you will regret it. You will be isolated and left to yourself, and that is not how God designed us.
We all long to live a courageous life of significance. We all want to be the example to our children and do big things that change the world. However, at the end of the day, the bills are calling, and the busyness of life often keeps us from stepping boldly into our dream and passion. Join Angie Taylor, a 30-year veteran educator and co-founder of Valor Global Online and Valor Global Foundation, if you long to leave a legacy for your family and leave your mark on the world. This show is for you. This is the Way of Valor.
Hey, friends. Welcome to the Way of Valor. I am your host, Angie Taylor. And guys, this podcast will be a unique one for us today. I have one of my favorite people on the podcast with me today, Brittney Serpell. I feel like we probably were separated at birth. We have about the same amount of spiciness and love of people and love of all things Jesus and courage. And so it was really fun to have her on the podcast. But I started with a plan for, hey, we're going to talk all about parenting, because she definitely has a lot of expertise in this area. But as we were building up to jump on and start recording, we're both in this heavy place. There's a lot going on in the world right now, between what's happened in Israel, between what is the recent flooding and hurricane victims. I think we're all just in mourning over what is happening. And so, Brittney, that's a hard start and welcome, but, welcome to this podcast. But I felt like it would be really helpful for us to actually talk about this. And so Welcome to the Way of Valor.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. I always love to come.
Yeah. And, we just wanted to talk very specifically about some tips and strategies. There are leaders that listen to this podcast. There are parents that are listening to this podcast. And, the reality is the world's the world is truly groaning. In fact, I am hearing now the memo in the song, "The weary world rejoices." And I feel like, wow, are we a weary world? So Brittney, let's jump off there. Just talk to me about what's going on and what can we do about it?
Yeah. I mean, there's so much. I mean, I was just telling you earlier how to get on this call feels like it was just a battle in itself, between the internet going down, the water's out at the house. There's just the natural has some stirring of a disruptance, and even this place of trying to get me distracted to what the mission and what the call is. And I think there's definitely something going on in the spiritual realm too with this. And we're a nonprofit organization, and we are fueled by donations and the people that love to give to our mission, and the heart that we have to see revival happen in families. They are hurting now, and it's not just because of the hurricane, and it's not just because of the economy. It's just, I think there's just this pain that is on our nation as a whole, that has gotten people just robbed of their hope and their joy. And it's just so frustrating to watch. So I think we were talking about that, just this place of, man, we need to be reminded of the goodness of God in every trial that we face. And, that what we're called to give, whether that's loving your kids well, loving your spouse well, whether it's showing up and, doing a podcast. I don't ever have curly hair, but I have curly hair because I had all of 5 minutes to get ready because the water was about to be shut off, and it's working. Thank you, Jesus, for my curls. But it's just this place of, I have to be locked into that God is good regardless of what's going on, because if I get distracted, then the devil is winning, and I don't want him to advance any more than he already is, as I'm frustrated with that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think we're also mindful of James 1, it's count it all joy when you encounter trials. I was just speaking at an event last weekend, and I was talking about a story that felt like a trial that I could have very easily blamed it on
Mm,
a million different things. And I remember that at that point, the Lord was telling me, Angie, this is my refiner's fire. This
mm,
is my refiner's fire over your life, because I would never want you to be tempted that it was your doing, your
mm,
glory, your skills, your amazingness that
mm,
accomplished the things that in the purpose I have for you on this earth. And, he humbled me in such a beautiful, painful
mm,
way, but recognizing that right now when we're in this season of really mourning, I mean, I feel like my heart has been mourning, that there is a refining fire presence of God
mhm.
that is also present in this
Yes.
moment. And you guys are so good about the dialogue around all of this stuff. So let's talk about, how are you talking about what's going on in your world with your kids and with families?
You know, I've been thinking a lot about our perspectives and the filters that we put on things because that influences so much of how I view a situation, kind of like the refining. And I think a lot about Joshua and Caleb when they enter in the promised land, they're sent out as spies and they go and they see the bounty, they see the goodness because of their perspective. And then they come back and they report with all the other spies. The other spies are like, oh no, did you not see the giants? Did you not
Yeah.
see all the scary stuff? They're like, well, we saw it, but we remembered who we serve, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. And I
Mm,
think that's the perspective I want to have my kids facing in this season. That's the
yeah.
perspective that I want to be leaning in. I
Mhm.
want to remember that God's called us to great and mighty big things.
Amen.
And the world has giants, there's lots of giants and they take many different forms. And so there's a lot about perspective and there's a lot about, I'm reading this really great book. I don't know if you've read it before. It's called The Gap and the Gain. Oh my
Mhm.
goodness. I'm
Mm-mm.
loving that book so much.
I'm writing it down.
And it's talking about so much of this is our perspective. We have this place where everyone has a starting point. So starting point is you got married, starting point is you had your first baby, starting point you started your business, right? That's our starting point. The next phase is the things that we have achieved. Now Ben and I will be married 21 years this month, which is crazy, but that's a huge achievement.
Mhm.
And the hard part is most of us don't live in the place of where we started to where we have achieved. We're looking at the ideal, where I'm not, what
Mm,
I'm missing, what
good.
I haven't gotten yet. And so we have this gap between the achieved and the ideal. And that becomes our perspective to everything that we do. And so
So
we're
good.
constantly failing. So whether it's your
Mm,
parenting day was a failure, whether it's your marriage, whether it's your business, whether it's, what you were tackling, I think so much of what I'm trying to help my kids see is the perspective you bring to this moment is going to fuel you or it's going to discourage you from keep
really
going
good.
or
Ooh.
holding back. So I'm because of all of the swirl that's happening right
Mhm.
now, we have to make sure that our perspective is in check with the Holy Spirit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so
So
good.
that's the practical point I got is perspective
Yeah.
right now.
And I think it's profound. I mean, part of that and I am so guilty on this when there's something going on, when Israel's at war, when something's going on, I am all of a sudden down the rabbit hole looking at every detail about it, just update without making sure I'm also spending time in the presence of the Father, spending time in worship, spending time in those things that are fueling me. And so in our homes, I think filling our homes
Yeah.
with praise, I think filling our homes with prayer, I think the conversation around, the thing that the Lord has trained me on is when I find myself in need, is
Mm,
to thank Him for my need, because in my need, he often expands my territory. I generally start praying into it. God, here's where our gap is. Here's what's missing. Here's the resources that are needed at the table here. And it's something I can't do. And he's like, that's awesome. Finally, we're gonna use my miraculous provision in your life and the opportunity for our kids to see that happen is so powerful.
It's
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's human nature to be in the gap. I feel like that's what makes us so human, is to easily get into that space of gap, and it's so the Lord to say, get out of the gap, get away from that
Okay.
space. Let
So
me
good.
let me be your clear perspective. So yeah. I'm guilty of it too, Angie. So you're not
Yeah.
alone. Don't worry.
Yeah. Yeah. It's as somebody that just is naturally very, very curious. I really always want the backstory and want to know all the details of what's really going on in a situation. And because as we know, the media news doesn't always get it right. So I always want to know what more don't I know? Um, I love that. And I think it's critical that we, as light bearers of Christ, as we carry the hope of the world within us, that we carry that. We are in a season that feels heavy, dark, between the elections coming up and everything going on in it. And I think it is the reminder of, man, God's not surprised by any of it.
Yeah, not at all. Not
And
at
I
all.
I think we'd love to make out that we've never been in a darker time or age, but when you study history, you really recognize. I mean, there's a whole period called the Dark Ages. I think when you study history, you really recognize, man, but for God, but for
Yeah.
God. So you know what? I would love to shift this, because our hope was, one, to acknowledge we both acknowledging as where people are.
Mhm.
Today, a lot of people are. I think we both are on the same bus as everybody else, going, man, we are doing everything we can to renew our grip, renew our strength, encourage our hearts, and they that wait on the Lord will renew their strength. And I'm quoting that every day right now. But the reality is you guys are actually putting out so much good and content into the world, for families to grab a hold of transformation. Because the one thing that I recognize is when life is bad outside of my home, I feel like I can manage that. I feel like it's morning, it's hard, but the minute in the sanctuary of my home is also traumatic, the outside world crushes me. I mean, I've discovered I have no ability, when my home life is not shored up well, to actually tackle the heart of the world. And you guys have actually put together so many resources to do just that, because that is how we gird up ourselves to stand against a world that really hates us. So let's talk about that, Brittney.
Yeah, I mean, probably what I've seen that we've created, we have so many great products. I mean, the books, the courses, there's so many great things that are available. But probably my most favorite thing that we've done is called our Kylo University, and it happens every fall. We start at the end of September, or end of August, I mean, and then we go until December. And it's 16 weeks, and it focuses on your relationship with God, yourself, and others. And I mean, we have therapists coming into this course. We have teachers that come into this course. We have leaders of different organizations. And then we have people that are retired that have, they're like, oh, let's do something fun. And this has been a great avenue. We have moms, we have entrepreneurs. I mean, we've got them all. We have every type of person represented. And then we have so many different nations that have been showing up, and I
I
love it
love
when they
that.
start talking. It is so much fun to hear all these different accents. But what we've really created is a program where we get to walk with you in your discovery of your relationship with the Father. who you see him to be, how he is impacting your life, really how you allow him to, like, because there's a lot of junk that we block from the blessing of the Father. And so removing that crud out of the way. And then we go into the self portion. Most people that come to us, they're in the people business. They like people, they want to work with people, but they don't realize that sometimes they're the problem of why things aren't working out so well. And so we get to walk through that. But we've had so many just stories of transformation. Some of the few off the top of my head is we had a woman that was married for years, couldn't figure out how to communicate with her husband. They were just lived on different wavelengths. And she went through the course, and all of a sudden, she locked into these tools. She had read the books, done courses, but walking with her, we have these transformation groups. We have pastors that are in there. Something shifted. It was like that aha moment. And then she was able to apply it, and her marriage gets radically changed and rocked. And now they are just so excited and connected, which is all that you can imagine. Like you said, your home front is working. And then we've had stories of restoration from adult children to parents. So it's just to see revival happen, that there is life is being revived back at home, that people are leading in a capacity of, I'm the standard of love. I'm showing up in this relationship, and I am living like Christ in the relationships that I care the most about. To be any part of that is the greatest honor, I think, which is what we do. We do this for those testimonies right there, and then to give them away. So the Kylo University has been that just this, I don't know, it's like so much fun. It's so much fun. It's really fun to see people be transformed, because that's what we're going after. Is this year's goal is to get 10,000 testimonies of transformation, and so we are gathering them, and a bunch of them happen in Kylo University. So that's fun.
I love that so much. And so for those that may not be aware, how do you spell Kylo, and what does it mean?
Kylo. A lot of people think it's Kylo Ren from Star Wars. It's not. Yeah. It's from the book Keep Your Love On, which is a book my dad wrote years ago. I think now about 10 years. But you can find all that at lovingonpurpose.com. That's where all of our stuff is. And that's Kylo. Awesome. You see me driving around town in Sacramento area, that's me. Kylo license plate.
I love that. And we'll definitely throw that in our show notes. So if you want to go check it out, we'd love for you to check that out. You know, something that you mentioned in there that I think is just so important is you said that people often don't recognize they are the problem. And I have to say, when I am dealing with family dynamics or, you know, even staffing dynamics, that generally is the number one issue that you see taking place is you can, when you're the quarterback or the referee, you can usually pretty easily start picking out what the problem is. So talk to me about how you guys help people discover, you know, because we'd all love to believe we're not the problem.
It's true. Well, and that's why we have blind spots. And I think that getting a coach or anybody that's going to help you walk through the belief system, because so much of our belief system is how we manifest out our words, our feelings, our actions. I mean, so we're confronting belief systems that you have about God, the belief systems around yourself. A lot of these wonderful, powerful people that you see, there's deep-rooted insecurity of rejection. There's deep-rooted insecurity around failure, and that love is conditional. And so we're trying to weed through the manure that you've put on, and maybe, you know, to grow something, you need a little bit of manure, and like, okay, let's get through this. But sometimes people cake it on, and then nothing can work and function and grow because they're just suffocating it with all this self-doubt and criticism. So a lot of our tools are really providing a place of invitation to growth and exploring. If this hits and resonates with you, it doesn't mean that you're weak, doesn't mean that you're bad. It means there's an invitation for growth. And that invitation is completely up to you whether you choose it or not. And usually by the time we get through the God section, they've gotten a little bit healed up of their heart. And so they're trusting us like, okay, I think there's some truth in this. So let me look at this thing that's been growing underneath the carpet for years that I haven't wanted to look at. And it's a lot of, we use a lot of super practical tools. So I'm talking top level right now, but we go into the DISC profile, we go into some love language stuff, we go into the Enneagram a little bit. We do a lot of what I'm bringing to my style of communication and what is it that I'm needing from this. I'm talking about like just how people function. People are our business, so we are in the industry of learning. So you can't have a conversation with me if you met me on the street for very long where I am not already racking through my brain, likely what is your personality style? How can I approach this best for you to feel comfortable? And so that we're just trying to help provide people knowledge about themselves so they get really good at being able to say, this is what I need. Because most people don't know what they need and they're afraid to look in there. And so we're trying to help them discover that.
That's so good. I love that so much. You know, you and I, we talked about this when we met, we connected, you put your kids in Valor. But one of the things that I've just loved about you that I've seen you is you have so much expertise on your own. And, there was a point where you called me and you're like, hey, I had a dream. I'm wondering if you can talk to me about the dream. And what I loved about it is you carry a level of humility in your expertise. And so guys, when you're looking for somebody to walk alongside of you, Brittney's one of those people that I would call in a heartbeat and go, let me divulge my deepest, darkest secret to you. And the reason I say that is because I trust her not to go, well, that's because you're an idiot and I'm going to judge you for what you're saying. I trust her to carry that with such grace and commitment. And I think there is so much hurt and wounding out there. We call it church hurt, which I get why we call it church hurt, but really it's people hurt. So let's talk about how we navigate that and how we find those trusted people that are going to look at us and go, hey, I think you're the problem right now.
Yeah. I did a podcast for Bethel Conservatory or Bethel College, something like that. I'm not sure even where I did it, but I was at Bethel and it was for one of their online platforms. And we talked about how criticism, negativity, and it was another C, but it was basically when you are this unenjoyable person to be around, and everything that you're bringing is full of criticism, judgment, negativity, and you're bringing your life's problem to that type of person. If that person is constantly that same voice, that would be an indicator that that's probably not a healthy person. They're probably not adding value to your growth, to challenging your mindset, to pulling you to a higher space. So I'm always looking for someone that is going to love me, encourage me, and also be willing to correct me. And now correction isn't bad. If you read through Proverbs, it's literally littered with correction. Proverbs is just a bunch of correction. But we take correction as we put it in judgment, criticism, negativity. But really you should be looking for people that are going to empower you, encourage you, and correct you. And so that's the community that we're trying to help build, even through Kylo University, and what we are pointing our kids to. And that's who we hang out with, which is why we're hanging out with you, is I know that that's what I'm going to get when I come to you. And I hope that that's what you experience from me, is that you're going to get those same things on. And I'm not afraid of correction. Now, I think feedback can be huge. And if it's out of relationship, then I'm going to listen really well. But if I have no relationship with you, I'm probably going to be like, all right, there's probably truth in this. There's definitely some version. Doesn't mean I have to take the whole cake.
Yeah.
It might just be a bite,
Yeah.
but I'm going to take something because I'm not afraid of correction. So that's what I want people to
Yeah.
um, learn, is that
Mm-hmm.
correction isn't a bad thing. It is
No.
actually such a beautiful place of growth. And so that's what we're usually showing our kids is how to find those people that are encouraging, that are really empowering and aren't afraid of correction. So
Yeah.
that's healthy community for us, as it
Yeah.
has those elements to it.
Well, and you're so right. I mean, those of us who are leaders and generally pull people close to us that are
Mm-hmm.
like you. You know, I think of there have been times in your history with Valor where you've texted me or given me a phone call of, hey, you all, and you were so much more gracious than I'm about to say it, but you all completely missed it on this boat. Like this piece sucked. And she never said that. You were always incredibly gracious, but truthful with me. I never felt judged by you. I always felt like you were saying, hey, I see this. I trust your heart that wants to be better. And I trust
Mm-hmm.
that you want to build an organization that is better. And that's why I'm coming to you. And that just made me love you and trust you all the more. That you care about our community in such a way that you don't let us hang out in a gutter. You don't let us walk around as if the emperor has no clothes and we're saying we're amazing when you're over here going, really, you're not. Check over here. And so, you know, I so agree with you. If you can find relationships of people that will lean into, see your divine potential, your dreams, your goals, and say, yeah, I absolutely believe that's possible for you. Here are some things you're going to want to work on.
Yeah.
Like that's such a gift.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we were so blessed from this Valor community. It is, I mean, I still remember the first phone call that you and I had, and I just sobbed my way through it because I thought, oh my gosh, I found our people. I found the people that I want to be teaching our children. I found the people that I want to do life with. We have so many friendships that have come from this. You know, our middle child went and flew to another state across the country to spend a week with another family that we met through Valor. And, you know, and then we had crazy that happened through that. And it just, I had even in that moment with this friend, Leslie Dean, I'm sobbing because our daughters are stuck in the airport overnight now. And Adeline, our middle one, is in what she called kid jail because I sent her on unaccompanied minor. And I am a wreck. I have lost sight of the truth that God is good and that He is ultimate power. And I'm talking with Leslie, and it's just having community that pulls you out of the gutter. She
Yeah.
immediately starts praying. She starts declaring the authority and power in which we carry. And as soon as
Amen.
she did that, within 5 minutes, everything
Yeah.
changed. The Addie's release, and I'm like, I'm so much better because I am welcoming healthy community into my life.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
just adding strength, and that's all that we want to do. I mean, we were just on the call earlier, Ben and I, talking to a couple, and we said community, healthy community, is
Yeah.
your ally in life. If you
True.
go it
Good.
alone, you
Good.
will regret it. You will be isolated and
Yeah.
left to yourself, and that is not how God designed us. So
Yeah.
I mean, we just, again, over and over are so grateful for what we found here in Valor and what our kids have found. It just feels like they are, I mean, for us, you guys are the real deal. You're the cream
Yeah.
of the crop. I won the lottery. I win. Best thing ever. So I couldn't be more happy. That's for sure.
Well, that feeling is mutual. We've gotten to tap into the beauty of all things loving on purpose and use that as a resource in our own community. So a total love fest. And honestly, we started this podcast a little low, but you can see that as you get in relationship with people that are on mission, on purpose, loving one another well, at the end of the day, I think we both feel better at the end of the podcast than we did when we started the podcast. Yeah.
Yes.
So, final words to those that are listening today that are in that space of, gosh, this season is getting to me. This one's been hard.
Yeah, I had an encounter with the Lord a couple mornings ago, and I was just reading through scriptures, and I got to this place where I was just overwhelmed by His presence. And what came to me is the closer I stay to the truth, the more secure my heart feels. And
Oh,
and in this
good.
unsecure world, in this swirl of, okay, I have to strive, I have to make this happen, I have to do these things, I'm just surrendering and walking away from the truth. I've just given it all, and I've made myself the one that can fix all. And I just found myself weeping in my living room at 5:30 in the morning, just thinking about, I have to stay close to the truth, and Jesus is the truth. And
Amen.
so I just found myself running to Him and searching for Him in scriptures. And so I think we started this with this place of uncertainty, and we've gone through all different things, and landed in this place of hope. But if I could leave you with anything, it would be, make sure that you're running to the truth and knowing that
Good.
He is
Good.
the ultimate truth, because He's going to bring back security in this place of wobble that we've got going on. And
Amen.
I'm not going to give in to the fear when I feel secure.
Ah, good word. And we will wrap it up with that. Hey guys, thanks for listening. Make sure you go follow Loving on Purpose, Brittney, all the resources. And if you enjoyed this podcast or you know a friend that needs it, share it out there. Give us a 5-star review because that helps the dang algorithm. All the things. So thanks for listening.